Sinistre. I'm going to deliberately pronounce your name wrong because Sinistre. Why not? So, this is a Yamaha RG 421DR. Stands for reverse. I've modified it. I modify all of my stuff. I'm Kirk. Hi, how you doing, by the way? The reason why I'm showing you this first is because I think you might be interested in knowing that this double locking tremolo little wonder was all of $180. Comes stock with all of its good stuff. I remade the pick guard in the image that I wanted, put in pickups that I wanted, selector that I wanted where I wanted it, and push-pull volume where I wanted it. It has things that most guitars would have. It has a body, it has a neck. The fretboard is interesting because it's not used in a lot of instruments, but you can tell by the kind of orangish sheen, it's not quite rosewood. It's grenadillo, which is pretty neat. You know, your standard maple neck with a scarf joint, a little bit of flames here and there. Very nice instrument. Made around 1992 all the way through to 1994 or 5. And I have, this is a prime example. It's a guitar that I will never get rid of. People are starting to catch on that they're pretty good though. And for around the same price point that you're looking at, you can still pick these up. So they get more expensive, but you can still pick up the RG 421s or RGX, excuse me, and they also have RGZs. But Yamahas make really good stuff. I mean, I think they're the only musical instrument company. They're the only company that could make not only every single musical instrument for a band and orchestra, but the equipment to get them there as well. So I don't think they don't make anything. They make everything. So with that said, let's switch from this guitar, and we'll get to the ones that you're specifically talking about. This is, for all intents and purposes, the exact same guitar that you're looking at as far as the Jackson line is concerned. This is an X Series Dinky. Same thing. The only difference is you're going to notice, squeaks a little bit, it's okay, just tighten it up, doesn't squeak very much, is that I've replaced the saddles with stainless steel saddles. There's a caveat to everything, and when I got this, and there's a little bit of a story, there's a white guitar behind my head to this side over here. When I got it, one of its saddles was a little busted up. The saddle material used in the Floyd Rose specials, which these are, they're Jackson Floyd Rose, says, actually, Jackson Floyd Rose, this, said that, hey, we're going to make these out of zinc to save money. And yeah, it does, but it's not as strong as steel. When it comes to clamping force, the clamping force again and again and again will eventually rip out and tear out around the screw area and strip it. So, you know, back here from the saddle to the saddle block. So I essentially needed to get new ones anyway, so I might as well go stainless steel. I got stainless steel, and it does improve the tone of the instrument, I'll say that now. And it's a nice, you know, there's a resonance to it now that it didn't have before. It's just a lovely thing. So as far as fit, finish, playability and stuff, everything is stock. I darkened the fretboard a little because I think Laurel is a little light. I used, I think for this one I used India ink. For the black one back there I used Angela's leather dye. It has a better effect, but it's a subtle difference, but I think it's a better effect in general, but it makes it look a little nicer in my opinion. But aside from that, everything else is stock. And the bridge plate, I did have to replace the bridge plate because the even though this is made of steel, the powder coat does have a tendency to chip, and in the knife edges, chipped powder coat basically means you're going to get stuck here and there. And if you tune your guitar up, great. You pull the tremolo back a little bit, it doesn't return all the way to normal, you're a little sharp. You push it flat, and it returns to normal, and you're right back in tune. Can't have that. You got to return to zero every time. So I replaced the saddle, or excuse me, I replaced the base plate, and everything's fine. So all in all, I have put a little money into the instrument. I got this brand new, straight from the factory, to Guitar Center. Guitar Center called me up, said, hey, come get it. I came, got it. And the funny story about this is when I was buying a different instrument back there, I took a picture of this to show my daughter. She's 24. At the time, she's 23. But she said, Dad, you have to go back and get that. It's the best one. So when I was up buying a different guitar, after that. So the first guitar was this one right here. The second guitar I got was an orange monster back there. And I went ahead and I played this while I was there, and I was like, holy crap, it actually is the best one. Maybe I should buy one. So, but I was getting really, really good deals on some stuff. This was only $400, for instance. It was like literally half off. So about the same price that you'd be paying for the silver one. So for that, I did have to do a fret job after about 6 months. So let me talk to you about resting time, settling time. These guitars are made in Indonesia, and because of that, it's got a different humidity than any part of the United States. It also has usually a different temperature. Even if they're kept in a nice warehouse, you're still going to have some probably higher temperature than what we've got here. And of course, in their shipping. So this guitar, again, straight from the factory to me, technically straight to a warehouse and then to me. After about 6 months, I started to get not a little fret sprout, but the wood started changing a little bit. The steel doesn't change. The wood does change a little bit. And that caused me to get here, these two frets sounded more like this. So one fret was a little high. That means the wood is changing just a little bit. Quick fret job. It's fine. It's right as rain now. Good stuff. Anyway, I would totally endorse you getting one of these. Just saying, as far as like, if this is what you're looking at, it's a good guitar. You're going to, for anywhere under, and when I say $1,000, you're going to be picky at $1,000 still, because that Jackson back there was almost $1,000. And I still had work to do on that. In fact, it came with the 11th fret was too high, and I had to take it down. And, yeah, you're still going to get problems with guitars that are like sub $2,000. But generally speaking, under $1,000, you will run into more problems than if it's over $1,000. Again, that's not always the case. I have a $1,700 Schecter back there that, the neck angle, it's neck through, so I can't adjust it. But the neck angle is just a little too low for how low I can get this, and that limits how low I can actually take the action. You know, the distance between the bottom of the string and the top of the fret. So it's got higher action than I like as a rule. I also can't put on strings that are heavier, like 10s, because the neck likes to shift. Even if it's got the whole carbon fiber reinforcement and it's got a 5-piece neck and it should work against it really nicely. It doesn't. So the neck, it just goes, oh, I want to go this way. So there's a little bit of a bow in there if I put 10s on it. So I'm limited to the string type, and I'm not totally happy with that purchase, in other words. So let me go on, and I will say that, and this will be a representative of all those Jacksons back there. The other two Jacksons that are back there, the white one and the black one I'm speaking of, that are the same model as this, which is the same one you're looking at. Again, great guitars, but they all had their problems, and I've done many things to them to either correct them or to alter them slightly. The white one has the same stainless steel saddles, different pickups, and because it didn't come with the stock pickups, so those were actives, and I didn't like those, so I got rid of those. And then on the other one, the pickups that came with it are white. I liked that, but I didn't like the look. I wanted zebra, so I put some zebras that I had lying around in there. Tone Riders, if you haven't heard of them, go hear about them, because they're really, really good. And they're not that expensive in comparison to the grand scheme of things. You can get a set of those for less than the cost of one Seymour Duncan, and they are comparable to Seymour Duncan directly. As far as quality, they're hand-wound in Britain, and as far as tone is concerned, they're really good. So there you go. Going on with the show, I'm going to talk to you about Ibanez now. I almost forgot. So this Ibanez is the Ibanez RG. Now, they have the best names in the business. I really got to tell you. These the RG3XXV. They were made around 2012. This is a model from around that time. So, and at the time, Sweetwater was selling these on Black Friday for like $299. I still wound up paying $400 for it because I didn't buy it through them at the time, even though I was looking at it going, yeah, I kind of want that. I really kind of want that. I always liked the 565, but I really couldn't get around the blue inlays. There is a way around it. Add more blue, and it balances it out. So at any rate, story about this is I got it for $400. $400 for the greenie, $400 for this. Everything's like $400. Just save your money, save your money, save your money. Oh, look, $400. Gone. So this came stock with DiMarzio's. I'm not going to tell you my story about exactly why I don't like DiMarzio's generally, but I can say that for most of the time on the rhythm sounds that I like to make, I don't down tune a lot. They're really not for me, but they do well for leads. Like the Chopper, which is the neck pickup, which is still a DiMarzio. Sounds great. The bridge pickup, which is now a really cheap Guitar Heads pickup, because I had it lying around and it's blue, and it just seems to match pretty well. It sounds like an old DiMarzio Super Distortion, which sounds good to me. It's just fine. It's exactly right for what I like to do. So with the only problem I had with it out of the way, the only other problem I had with it is, of course, a fret job. Normally, there's a lot of wear and tear on used instruments around here for some reason. And I basically just gave it a half a fret job, crowned and polished it, that was it. So I did not buy this guitar new. The Jackson I bought new, and I had to work on it. The Ibanez I bought used, and I had to work on it. No Ibanez that I've ever bought new have I had to work on. There's that. I don't know why the other person's husband told you to stay away from them. Maybe he's had some bad experiences with them or thinks that they're cheap guitars, but usually when you see people like that, they're like really brand specific. And as you can tell, I am not. I've got Jacksons, lots of them. I got a Charvel right there. And behind that, there's an Ibanez bass, sure. I've got a Dean, I've got 3 Washburns, and a couple of Kirkyards, and a Yamaha. I am not brand specific. What's a Kirkyard? I build those. But I'm not brand specific. I think that if the guitar is like a neat tool, you know, you can use it to be creative. And if it gives you the fizz, you know, if it gets your juices flowing, then what's wrong with it? There is nothing wrong with it. Don't let somebody Ford versus Chevy you. You know, it's Ford's better, Chevy's better. No, dude, it's Dodge. No, there's none of them that are better at a certain level of quality. If it's a good instrument, it's a good instrument. Anybody else says otherwise is trying to sell you something, or they're really that kind of backwards, you know. No, it's all a bunch of crap. So the whole thing with that is they're in love with the brand. I'm in love with really good playing instruments. And again, at this price point, I still had to do some work, but you can get these for pretty cheap. That's the thing. Relatively inexpensive. The actual RG 565s on which these are modeled after are still going to be around $800 to $1,000, and I guarantee you're going to love that guitar if you get it. And I love those Jacksons. Those are great guitars. Now that I've messed with them and made them great guitars. This is a great guitar. It pretty much was when I got it, but I still had to mess with it and make it what I wanted exactly. So, but at any rate, that's kind of what I wanted to say, is that if you find one that you like and that it's a reputable brand, and Ibanez is quite the reputable brand, and so is Jackson, everybody's going to have their own opinions about things, but generally speaking, they'll serve you well. Another thing is, if you like really like paper thin necks, like necks that are as thin as like this, you know, just dumb thin, take a look at the Ernie Ball Music Man, the cheap ones, the Sterlings, the John Petrucci models have the thinnest necks I've ever played, and they're a little too thin for me. They actually cause my hand to fatigue faster than a slightly thicker neck. So, but they're super thin, and they have good action. They play very nicely, but it's not double locking. So if you're really locked into the double locking thing, there you go. And one thing about those Yamahas is, on occasion, you may find that you are not getting what looks like a double locking trim, but you're actually getting a single locking trim, because it'll lock up here. You got something called a speed loader back here, which you just run the ball in through it. You know, just kind of locks in. Doesn't lock at all, but, you know, you kind of put it between a couple of posts, and it stays placed. You know, you can do all you want with whammying, and it'll do just fine, but it's not locking back there. but it works. It's based off Floyd patents after all. But yes, this... It's a fine guitar. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm going to show you one more. And I just want you to, keep an open mind about the type of things that are possible out there, all right? And, double locking tremolo notwithstanding, just keep an open mind about this. Because, again, there are other brands. This is my Dean. I'm not a fan of the headstock. It's a little kind of big, bulky to me. They could have done a nicer job at making it a little more streamlined and maybe a little more metal. I mean, this is kind of a metal-looking instrument. It'll definitely catch attention. If you get a flat tire, you put this out, they'll all know you're there. But the only things that I've done to this at all, orange switch tip, I made that. Well, I bought a switch tip and I painted it orange. Bought a clear volume knob, speed knob, like a Les Paul's or whatever, and I painted it orange. That's the only things that I've done to this. Everything else is pretty well stock. I'm not even sure that I touched the frets, and if I did, I don't think I had to touch it very much. It's got a slightly thicker neck. It's more of a rounded, neck, a little bit more like a Strat, but it's definitely flatter than a Strat. So if you're used to a Strat feel or just a slightly thicker neck, BC Rich actually, similar feel to a BC Rich, like an ST. So the reason why I tell you all these things, $400. It was not even on clearance. It was just on a sale, and it was half off, and it was around this time of year. Actually, I think it was around August, but it was close to this time of year. Reels, Seymour Duncan's, excellent pickups in a kind of a frosted design that you can't just buy off the shelf. They make them for Dean like this. They make them for a couple other companies too, but they make them for like this. You got an SH5, which is a Duncan custom. They call it a custom. It's just kind of a nice beefy, pickup. And it happens to be my favorite Duncan. So that and the Screaming Demon, those are really good. And 59, pretty, standard. Roasted maple everything. And a real Floyd Rose 1000 unit, which is all stainless steel. I've had no problems with this. It absolutely, it loves to... And if I didn't screw that up, great sustain. And, you can do the whole Satriani type of things all day long with it. It plays extremely well. Good stuff. Again, $400. So the deals are out there. You can find them. This is an exquisite instrument, a very, very good one. It's not for sale. None of these are. The one that I sent you that said it'll do you just fine, that Ibanez, it will. It'll do you just fine. You can get those below $300 on a very, very regular basis. These you should be able to get for around $400, and if you do, it's the best deal in town because of how it's equipped. It's a stunningly good guitar for what I paid for it. Literally half off. They sell for $8. They also come. You can never find them in it, but they also supposedly come in yellow and a very weird robin's egg blue. I think the shocking orange. And to be honest with you, they call this like a classic orange. It should be called nuclear fallout orange. Jesus, it's about as orange can be. But that's kind of what I got for you. What I really just wanted to tell you is, like I said, be aware of the deals. They're out there. Don't be brand specific. That's another one. Almost every single guitar you're going to buy at the price point that you're looking at is going to need some work. If you know how to do the work, I know how to do the work. But if you know how to do the work, great. You'll be able to get over that hurdle relatively easily, and with not a lot of cash probably having to, throw into it, unless you wanted to alter it, like, put in different pickups and stuff. But the deal is, it's going to be your guitar. Now, you can get advice from other people you know, from here until Kingdom Come, and it's not going to matter once it gets in your hands. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Which is the reason why I suggested to you that you go out and you play them. You sit down and you see how comfortable they are. You see if they feel right. If they have any real problems, like they go, if it looks great and you go tink, 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 and the frets are not good, it doesn't matter how good it looks. It's just like, you know, shoes. Shoes can look amazing on a woman and they're ruining her feet. You know, you want to get something that makes you want to play. Yeah, looks matter, of course, but they're not the only thing that matters. If that thing sucks and you're gonna have to fix it, it doesn't look that good anymore. That could be more of a problem than it's worth, right? Well, I'm really in the harmonic mood today. Anyway, great instrument. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have any questions, please respond to this. I can respond with another video if you want. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time, but I do hope that it's worth your while. Take care of yourself. And really, best of luck out there with all the instruments that exist out there. And if you want me to throw you a few that I would say, and I'm not going to take responsibility because I'm not playing them now, but if I find something on the internet and I go like, well, my experiences with these are good, I'll throw it your way. If you buy it and it sucks, it ain't my fault. but because that's what you got to play it first, man. You got to play everything. Everything you get online is probably going to be like there's a problem with it, you know. But you got to play it first. I bought a Schecter Sun Valley. I don't recommend it. I don't really like the shape of the neck, but I bought a Schecter Sun Valley. The very first time I opened it up, it's in tune, great, no problem. I plug it in and the neck pickup doesn't work. Why? Because the little prongs underneath the EMGs that it was, I don't like active pickups, but still, came loose. And I had to push that back into place. It worked just fine. Great, no problem. And the 11th and 13th and 15th fret and 16th fret were all too high compared to all of the other ones. Told Sweetwater that they had some problems with their setup. And they were like, wow, we check for these things. Apparently you don't check very well. So even if they say they've got this, you know, super check and all this kind of stuff, yeah, they don't really. Maybe it isn't going through the right person. And maybe the people that they got looking at them aren't really checking everything the way they're supposed to. Or maybe they're not nearly as picky as I am about the way things are supposed to be when I get a guitar. So, you know, if I can't have the action, you know, like within a 32nd of an inch of the fret, I'm not playing it. So it's just not going to happen. So all right, with that, I'm out. Good luck.